Hi, Attorney Chris Wright with Traffic Law Guys here. In this video, I'm going to talk about some of the things you can do if you can't avoid a conviction for a criminal speed charge. Some things you can do after the fact to try and improve that outcome. Now, first, it's important to understand where this record of the conviction exists. There's kind of three basic places that this is going to exist. One, there's going to be the court records that this case existed. Two, it's going to get reported to ADOT, so that it's going to show up on your driving history. And three, it's going to get reported to the Arizona Department of Public Safety or the Highway Patrol. That's who maintains criminal records in the state of Arizona. So those three places are where a record of this conviction is going to exist. There's really nothing you can do to get it off your driving history once it hits that. ADOT, Arizona Department of Transportation, they're kind of their own little administrative body. There's really no mechanism to clear a violation off your driving history once it lands there. Now, as far as the other two things, the first thing that you can do if you've gotten a criminal speeding conviction is you can apply to the court to set aside the conviction. You can make this application to the court anytime after you've fulfilled the sentence in your case. This is usually after you've paid the fines. Then you can apply to the court to have the conviction set aside. Some courts will want you to wait a little bit of time before you make that application. They want to see you haven't gotten any new traffic violations. You can apply until you get it granted. Basically, if the court rejects it, they're going to tell you why, and you can go ahead and reapply. Now, once the court grants the application to set aside, and I don't think we've ever had a court ever not grant these eventually, but once they grant that application to set aside, that's going to change how the conviction is reported on that criminal background check. So instead of just showing a straight conviction, it's going to show that conviction was set aside and that the charge has been dismissed. So it's still going to show up on there, but it makes explaining it a little bit easier. If you've got to fill out on a job application that you had a criminal speeding conviction, at least you can say that the conviction's been set aside and the charge has been dismissed. Now, the second thing, and this is relatively new in Arizona, I think as of 2023, we have a mechanism for sealing criminal records. Now, this is not an expungement. An expungement means that it just kind of blows away the records. It's like it never happened. So there's no expungement available for this type of charge in Arizona. Sealing is going to be about as close as you can get. It's a similar process. You make an application to court and ask them to seal these records. For criminal speeding, you do have to wait 2 years from the conclusion of that case before you can make that application to seal. Now, if the court grants the application to seal, this goes a lot further than the set aside to cleaning this up. It's going to remove that court record from public view. It's going to remove it from that DPS background check. It's important to keep in mind, though, that anything that's sealed means you can unseal it. So while this record does get removed from your criminal background check and it gets removed from the court record, it can still be revived in certain situations. For example, if you're applying for a fingerprint clearance card, you would have to disclose this. If you have some sort of immigration status and you're applying for permanent residency or a visa or whatever, you would have to disclose this. There's some other, federal situations. We've seen federal applications where they're asking, have you ever had any criminal charges expunged or set aside or sealed? And you would have to disclose it in that situation. It could also be introduced as evidence of a prior conviction and a subsequent criminal prosecution. So it doesn't completely erase it, but for most people in their day-to-day lives, you can act as though it has never happened. On a job application, if they ask about convictions, you would not have to disclose it. You would not have to disclose that you were arrested on a job application. So it's very helpful. And like I said, for most people, that goes a pretty long way towards cleaning it up. And if you have questions or you want to explore doing that for an old case, reach out and we can give you a hand.